Hello, you're watching Sports 6. My name is Vineet Malhotra. It's the first edition of our show, and it's something that we're hoping that will entertain you and give you all the analysis and all the astute premises that a Puritan cricket fan requires. And with me in the studio is a former cricketer, India cricketer Nikhil Chopra, and a sports journalist Harpal Singh Bedi. We also are joined by Mr. Mohammad Azharuddin, former captain of India. But hello and welcome to the first edition of our sports show. And let me, in fact, brief you as to what's going to be taking place today. Today we talk about how India, in all its efforts, has captured the rankings, but some of the more famous cups still elude the team. India's loss to the Kiwis in the recently concluded World Cup begs the question as to where did we exactly go wrong. A lot of people have spoken about it, a lot of analysis has been done, a lot of experts have given their verdict, but yet here we'll talk about that facet again. Are we the new chokers when it comes to ICC tournaments? Because it's been a while since we won any of the ICC tournaments. Or are we actually losing focus and being complacent since we always rule the ranking charts? Let's debate about this. We will get an opinion from our guest in the studio, but we also are joined by Mohammad Azharuddin on the broadcast. Azhar bhai, thank you so much for joining us. The first question I want to ask you is, India have topped all the ranking charts off and on, but ICC tournaments like the World Cup, they still elude us. Where do you think India has been missing or going wrong at times?
I think the basic problem I feel is that, in the ICC tournament, our team has been consistent over a period of time, whenever they play tournament. But when it came to that final leap, there was those couple of matches, where, they've been very elusive for the Indian team. So I think we need to, in World Cup also, we had one bad day and we lost the game on that day, but I think it was a very easy game to win. But as I've said, because there is no explanation, to be very honest, for that, because our team is the number one team in test matches and one-day games, and maybe I think coming into the T20 is also going to become number one very soon. So, but I think when a side is number one, maybe sometimes, I think those 2 days, which was very, very important, have been the tough ones for the Indian team. But I think, playing against West Indies, I think, you see how the West Indies fared, we had a very, very superior team, and West Indies just could not handle our bowlers and just could not, play to their potential. Because even if they had played to their potential, but I think our side was by far the best side.
Right, absolutely, completely agree with you there, Azhar. But Virat Kohli, let's talk about the captain, has achieved a lot as a captain, but the contribution of the team cannot be sidelined. In other words, a captain is only as good as his team, and Virat Kohli has been very vocal about it as well.
Well, it's very agreeable, because I think anybody would agree that, because I think the team, he has got a very good team, he's got good bowlers, in his side, and he's got good spinners as well. And most of the time, if you see, our Indian team, so much competition, and even the players who are sitting outside, are fit enough, good enough and fit enough. Imagine Rohit Sharma and Ashwin not playing in the 11. So it goes to show that the strength is always there, and I think congratulations to Virat Kohli, for becoming the best captain India has ever produced. And it's still learning, because however matches you win, still learn every day. Cricket is a game where learn every day. So I think every day people are learning. But I think, his statistics shows that he's the number one captain in India. So I think there should not be any contest on that.
Right, Azhar, stay on with us. In fact, let me also get an opening remark or a comment or a feedback from Nikhil. Nikhil, we are not trying to, in fact, assess the team. They've done extremely well, but as sports journalists, as people who love the Indian team, it is our job to figure out that why have ICC tournaments eluded us so far. Now, the last couple of ICC tournaments that I saw that were won by India was the Asia Cup and the Nidahas Trophy, and both of them were under the captaincy of Rohit Sharma. What, according to you, has made India cringe when it comes to these, ICC tournaments?
Well, first and foremost, I think those tournaments, Virat was not the captain because they just had a long series and he wanted to take a break. That's why Rohit was leading those 2 tournaments where we won. To answer your question, Vineet, I think it's a matter of planning. You look at the last 24 months where Team India, the top 3 batsmen have got you 80% of the runs. Right. So, we haven't been able to go out there and try and get a solid enough middle order. Mahendra Singh Dhoni, we all know, was on probably not the right side of age, but our number 4, number 5 in terms of planning. We went through about 12, 13 batsmen and still not been able to go out there and identify this is going to be our number 4. You know, you can't expect your 1, 2 and 3 to fire every single time. If you look at the records, your top 3 guys have got you 80% of the runs and won you games as well. You know, not taking anything away, no disrespect to Vijay Shankar, but to be honest, somebody who's not got a half century to his name, you know, gets to go out there and play the World Cup. Of course, he's going to have butterflies in his stomach as well. He was not ready. When you were looking to bank on Ambati Rayudu, you know, all of a sudden, what went wrong? Nobody knows. You know, just before the World Cup team was announced, come the New Zealand series, he got you runs, everything was fine. Here's a man looking settled, and then we change. So too much of chopping and changing as well. And this is a team sport. At the end of the day, you need to try and plan for some sort of problems coming your way. If the top 3 don't fire, do you have enough experience in that middle order to shoulder the responsibilities and win you games? Unfortunately, our middle order during the World Cup, you know, had not played as many games as some of the other sides. World Cup, you got to be very careful. You need to be ready for every single thing, because that's why you're going to be crowned as the world champions for the next 4 years.
Absolutely, and you know, well articulated, Nikhil. And Mr. Bedi, let me come to you. We've spoken about 80% of the runs being scored by the top 3, but let's talk about those top 3. Those top 3, barring Virat to a certain extent, also have not been consistent. You take Shikhar for example. You know, he's been blowing hot, he's been blowing cold. Rohit Sharma on the other hand, you know, he's a prolific scorer, but there have been times even during low scoring games he's made runs, but has always been a very slow starter. How do you assess India's in fact, you know, failures, if I can call it, at ICC tournaments?
We need to listen to 2 cricketers. No, as a journalist, I'm telling you.
Right. That's why you're here.
I'm not talking about these 3 batsmen, what they did or not,
right,
or whether we should have a problem with the number 4 slot.
Right.
Our problem in the tournament, this is a journalist I'm talking,
right,
is a overconfidence. And believe me, I was in a program, certain program, when I said there can be a problem with New Zealand, and other people shouted at me. What are you talking? New Zealand? And this happened again, every time. You see, you and talking against team management was a blasphemy. So you cannot say anything against Ravi Shastri or Kohli.
Do you still think so? Do you still think so? It's blasphemy?
If you are a journalist at this time, and I met so many so many senior journalists who have played test, who have even led cricket. He said, what has happened to you people now? You don't talk against anything. You were after our lives. In one of a function, one senior cricketer told me, not told me, he told other junior reporters. The problem in London, what happened in TC, well, Nikhil has analyzed very beautifully, Azhar has told you, but my problem, I tell you, is a sheer overconfidence that nobody can beat us. And this is what happened against New Zealand. You could commit blunders.
But don't you think confidence is a byproduct when you don't when you go undefeated for so many games?
No, that overconfidence, you should realize that other team is also playing. You can see, problem in India is Indian cricket team is they do not take any opposition seriously. Sri Lanka, they have utter contempt. West Indies, New Zealand, at the most they respect England and Australia. No other team they think they are in a class of themselves. And the problem here is that if you have lost this tournament...
Are you sure, Mr. Bedi?
This is my view.
No. Is overconfident the word you want to use, or arrogance?
No, arrogance. Arrogant. And remember...
So that's the word you're looking for, not overconfident.
I stand corrected. Arrogance.
Okay.
And secondly, it is not a final statement. What I'm saying is not the truth, but it's a final truth. It can be, my argument can be demolished. But as a journalist, I'm saying, because Nikhil told you everything, what happened to us first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. But this problem was with every team this had. New Zealand never showed that they are such a great team, but they came back, fought well, and beat India.
Well, they still emerged great out of that entire, even in the final, everybody saw what the keeping team and the captain
arrogance let us down. That is one word I will use.
Right,
and talking against Kohli and Shastri became a sort of blasphemy. You talk it and that means you don't know cricket.
It's heresy, is that what you're saying? Okay, Dr. Bimal Soni, a former manager of the Indian cricket team, is also joining us on the broadcast. Dr. Soni, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you taking out the time and joining us on the first edition of Sports X. We are talking about India and how ICC tournaments per se have, in a way, escaped us. So we have somehow not been able to capture the fancy of ICC tournaments, and there are a number of reasons to believe. First of all, as Nikhil and Azhar as a cricketer pointed out, that our dependability on certain quarters, certain players, certain sectors is evident, it's obvious. If you take a journalist's view, Mr. Bedi just pointed out that we perhaps got extremely arrogant, we were carrying a chip on our shoulder, and that became a subject for our eventual doom. That was the reason for our unbecoming. What is your analysis?
Well, I would say that overconfidence was there, but cricket is a game of uncertainty, and law of averages also works in cricket. I think that day against New Zealand, our initial batting collapsed. In the whole tournament, our top three batsmen were playing so good. And on that day, we lost a couple of wickets and virtually lost the match in the first few overs. So to get out of that stage, it was difficult and it was bad luck. But as far as the team was concerned, it was excellent. But as somebody had said earlier on, Vijay Shankar and Kedar Jadhav were not the people who could have saved us from that middle order initial collapse of the opening batsman and all that. So I think it was a bad day for the Indian cricket that day. But as a team, we have proved time and again that we are in a positive frame and we are in one of the best teams of India in one-day cricket. So I think that was the utter uncertainty of cricket which played that part that day, and bad luck to India that we lost the World Cup match.
Absolutely, and Mohammad Azharuddin, former captain of India, is also with us on the broadcast. Let's talk a bit about Kohli also now, Azhar bhai. What's your opinion of the way Kohli has been managing the team? Some guys getting more chances than the others is also something that has come off very lately. You know, even if you talk about the series, the Test series, which was concluded in the West Indies.
Since the team has been winning, since Hanuman Vihari has also done well, it's very hard for me to comment on that, but I think when you have good players, it's like maybe I thought, now since Rahul has not been performing well, his performance has been up and down all the time. It's not consistently, because I've never thought of him as a player, who's cemented his play for a long time to come. But I think since now he's not done well, so maybe Rohit Sharma, can be asked to open the side. Has been opening in the one-day games. I know opening in Test matches and opening in one-day games are two different things. But I think he's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of hundreds and a lot of runs behind him. And I think he will definitely get a chance. But I think maybe it's very hard for us to from here to comment saying that this player should have played, that player should have played. But I think at the end of the day, the team decision is the most important decision. I think the captain and the coach and maybe all the players who are in all the players on the tour who was in the selection committee, I'm sure they've taken the decision. So I think it's very hard to say anything now because since Hanuman Vihari has also done well.
Well, since you brought it up, Azhar, KL Rahul has been a flash in the pan as well, and just went kaput. What is his future like in this team? Is he also on the verge, on the cusp of being dropped and slipping into oblivion?
He has to really be consistent. His performances. He's played some very brilliant innings. At times. But I think if you want to play for Indian team for a long time, if you want to become a number one player or great player, you need to perform consistently. So I think he lacks consistency. That's the most important thing. He has loads of talent, but I think the consistency has to be there. Because he has to prove himself. That he is a consistent player and to cement his play for a long time to come. Otherwise, the sword is always hanging.
Right, absolutely. And Nikhil, coming back to you, we've spoken about KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, marshalling his troops, but there has been perennial issues with the team as well, even before going into the World Cup. Once again, I'd like to remind everybody that we are not discounting the team's victories in any way. We're just trying to passively analyze that what really goes wrong and if there are any nooks and corners that we can come up with. The number 4 conundrum, Nikhil, has been prolonging and going on for a very long time, and every time time a series is about to commence, it pops up again. What is the permanent solution for that? You've tried everything but the kitchen sink on that position, but it just doesn't fall into place.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You'd want to give the opportunity to a particular youngster, and you'd expect, he grabs that opportunity with both hands, and you don't need to see any further. But unfortunately, to be honest, Vineet, that hasn't been the case. At number 4, lots of players are only given the opportunity because the others who were batting before them were not able to grab that opportunity. That's why the chopping and changing. Had somebody got a couple of hundreds batting at number 4, things would look very different. But the other problem has also been when the top 3 have got you 80% of the runs, and the number 4 doesn't get that sort of opportunity. His batting comes when you're maybe 30 for 3, and then he has to shoulder the responsibility when you have not butterflies in your stomach, but probably eagles flapping their wings in your stomach with that sort of pressure.
Sure.
But to be honest, I think the best way forward is from here on in. If you look at the next World Cup as well, you all of us know what the ICC Future Tours Committee has, the number of one days. You divide that, say, well, these are the players we're going to be looking to give the opportunity as time goes on, 10 games, 15 games. My personal view is, as an ex-selector as well, don't pick someone with great amount of ease, and don't drop someone if you give him the opportunity. Give everybody a fair go, because obviously they've done well in the domestic cricket. It takes a little time when you're playing cricket in front of maybe 60-70,000 people and you come performing in an empty stadium. It's a different mindset altogether. So you need to plan for every single thing as well.
Right. Nikhil, in fact, just to amplify on the question that I asked you, you spoke of, the reliance or the dependability on the top 3, and the fact that Dhoni very recently, he's also being targeted. I mean, I don't mean targeted in a bad way. He's also being in the limelight, for reasons which are not concerning his batting or his keeping. People feel that he's not anymore in the mix of things, and with the problem that if our top order doesn't perform, the middle order has to be robust, and Dhoni not performing too well with the bat lately, it's going to be a problem, right? And Rishabh Pant is being groomed, but there is still time before he can actually become a match winner or a finisher like Dhoni.
Yeah, without a doubt. More than 10,500 runs in international cricket, to get that sort of reputation, it'll take a long, long time. Those shoes are huge to fill. And don't forget, Mahendra Singh Dhoni used to come and bat at probably the most difficult position there is to bat in limited overs cricket. You're batting at number 5 or 6. Even, you get an opportunity to bat beneath when the chips are down, or you need to go out there and get runs quickly. So not the best of case of scenario. But Rishabh has got the opportunity. I've seen him grow up as a 17-year-old. He has it in him. But at the end of the day, can he do justice to that talent? Only time will tell, because to play for India in international cricket, you don't get too many opportunities. And you better make the most of them now before somebody else comes in.
Absolutely. And Mr. Bedi, coming to you to get a journalist's perspective on things, you spoke of arrogance and overconfidence, but there was a time not too long ago when Rishabh Pant was in fact left out of the primary squad, which was in fact sent to England. Now he's been given a lot of chances as well. What do you think is going to be the next 4-5 months for Dhoni as well as Rishabh Pant? Because there is a lot of pressure on Dhoni, though it might be subtle, it might be just hints or whispers or telltale signs, but there is pressure on Dhoni to vacate his throne, abdicate his throne.
See, why should we be so emotional? Everybody has to go.
Yeah, nobody can be bad forever.
But I want to tell you a story. There was once upon a time, there was a player called Karun Nair.
Of course.
Unfortunately, he scored 300. And any other chap who would have scored 300 would have played 30 years, for 30 years. He was dropped next test match. Next test match.
I remember.
And he was told to prove himself again. It is like somebody driving a Ferrari and they asked to drive a Maruti 800 next time to show that whether he knows driving or not. So Indian cricket, you cannot explain. It is up to the management. And at the moment, to be very frank, at the moment management means Shastri and Kohli, who they like and whom they don't like.
But
simple and second, Rishabh Pant, you give him chance, and Nikhil Nikhil knows him better, but I have nothing against any player. But what happened to Vrindaman Saha? He just dropped him, for no rhyme or reason. Suddenly a man comes in and you are giving him chance, as you said, he let him to grab. The chap who had already grabbed You took it away a chance from
No,
him.
but
He's very strange.
unfortunately with Ridwan Shah, he had a long list of injuries, and
Agreed.
after his surgery,
Agreed.
it took time for him
Agreed.
to recuperate
Yeah,
and come back
I
in
agree.
NCA.
So
to prove your fitness after
no,
surgery, sir, he has to play
no,
first-class cricket
no
also.
dispute about it, and
Absolutely.
no argument about it. Whatever he's saying, sir. But there are other also wicket keepers coming up. Youngsters.
so Mr. Bedi-
why you have say, okay, you say, Mr. Pant, here is one, you are there, and 4 or 5 are behind you. So at least the other 4 or 5 should also know that they are in the reckoning. Now, if you say we are investing in Rishabh Pant, other 4 people will not even play. See, what is the rule?
but-
I think the time has come, and I think Nikhil should agree with me, or other people should agree with me, that you have to have 4 or 5 players, and you have so much a bench strength. I don't. There's
So
no
that's
need to
the
panic.
best part what BCCI is doing at this moment in time. You have the India A's, the board president. Ishan Kishan has just got some runs
Yeah.
as well. So don't, worry about people biting at the heels of Rishabh Pant, because he also
That's good,
realizes
yeah.
there are batsmen out there, wicketkeeper batsmen who are getting runs.
That
So
is what
when
I
you
was
have
saying
your
about it.
opportunity in international cricket, you better make the most of it, because somebody else is biting on your heels.
That I think is the whole idea. This should be that these are the players. You are not going to be permanent. And as far as Mahendra Singh Dhoni is concerned, I think we should not get emotional. See, I can dye my beard and become with black, but I can't look young. Even if I look young,
Give it a try.
Yeah.
Give it a try.
no. So I think,
Give it a try.
You see, the question is, when you say he has scored 10,000, 12,000, it took 12 years to score so many runs, right? And by scoring 12, and you have spent 12 years, you are not a younger player. So when you are talking about somebody has scored 100 centuries, he took 20 years to score century.
Let's also get a perspective from Dr. Bimal, who is also with us on the broadcast. Dr. Bimal, what do you make of what Mr. Bedi just said, that our selection, or the way people are selected or kept into the team is extremely binary in nature, and at times we are too emotional to certain positions, and at times we are extremely apathetic to certain positions?
Well, as a selector, as a cricketer, I would like to say that we should not be emotional or anything. As far as Dhoni is concerned, he's played his innings. We got Rishabh Pant, we are giving him opportunities, he deserves them. But if it doesn't come good, then we have Ishan Kishan, we have Ridwan Shah, who's come back from injury, we have KL Rahul, for that matter, who also keeps wickets. We have Dinesh Karthik, the old man. So there are many people in Indian cricket who can replace. But Rishabh Pant, one of the youngsters who has got the talent and who should be persisted with and given appropriate opportunity to prove himself. As far as Dhoni is concerned, it's high time he takes a call, or maybe 6 months, but he has to go because he has played his innings for India. So as far as I know, in India so much cricket is going on that we got at least 4 or 5 people ready to take the people's place in the Indian 11. So cricket is definitely prospering in India. We are one of the best teams in the world today, and it's because of proper cricket craze in India and the talent we have. So I think it's the selector's job to put the right perspective, put the right guy, and give him the right opportunity so that he can prove himself.
Right, Nikhil, coming back to you, let's also talk a bit about our tail enders. The World Cup which recently concluded, it established one thing very clearly. It was very vivid to all cricket fans that if you have to be world beaters, if you have to be chart-topping ranking cricketers, you have to have a great depth in your team. It's all about all-rounders now, and we got to see that with New Zealand. We also got to see that with England as well. The finalists of the recently concluded World Cup. India is still perhaps running behind schedule a tad bit when it comes to our depth in batting.
Well, to be honest, like I said, Vineet, when you've got your top 3 getting runs, but to a certain extent, I do agree that you need depth in batting. But when you have 7 batsmen, you have Hardik Pandya coming in as the all-rounder, he's got to value his wickets. It's good to write all-rounder against your name, but at the end of the day, when the chips are down, you need to go out there and perform in both departments. Have we been able to go out there and do that? Unfortunately, that New Zealand game that you talk about, that half an hour, rush of blood, you would stabilize the game. I clearly remember Rishabh was batting on 32, he got out, and then the rush of blood with Hardik Pandya. At that moment in time, we did not need a boundary. You knew that if you batted for a while longer, Mahendra Singh Dhoni is out there in the dressing room, then you could have gone out there and won the game. But sometimes you need to go out there and control the rush of blood. That's the beauty about sport, how you just hold on to yourselves sometimes when you're looking to soak up pressure and then take the battle to the opposition once again. So we have people who are very, very talented, but give them a little time. They will go out there and deliver and do justice to the talent, but it's unfortunate that you cannot take that chance during the World Cup.
Right, and Mohammad Azharuddin is still with us. Azhar bhai, Rohit Sharma, let's talk a bit about him, has not gotten too many opportunities. Saurav Ganguly, if you remember, made Sehwag open, and a glorious chapter in Indian cricket ensued after that, and its history. Should Kohli also do something similar? Take chances, like test the waters basically?
Well, I think he will definitely get an opportunity as far as I can see, because, like for example, when Sehwag was playing, he was asked to open the innings, and then he was a great success. So hopefully, since Rohit Sharma is already opening in one-day game, so I think he stands a better chance to, if he really has to play Rohit Sharma now, I think the only spot where he can fit in is the number 1 spot, the opening slot. But otherwise, I think if they don't play him at number 1 slot, I think then we'll have to wait for some more days.
Right, Nikhil, let me just bounce off that question to you as well. Time for some experimentation?
Vinit, it's not an experiment. I see that. I can, visualize.
Is that the only way?
I can visualize that because, to be honest, no disrespect, KL Rahul, the opportunities that he's got, he's not been getting runs.
Right.
You cannot have a man like Rohit Sharma sitting and warming the bench. Right. And because of Hanuma Vihari getting runs, which is a good thing for him, as he's grabbed that opportunity. Rohit gets an opportunity. Virat asks, would you like to open? I'm sure Rohit will say, yeah, why not? Because he...
will Virat say?
Absolutely.
The question is
absolutely.
No, that is a debate. Will Virat will say,
why not? Okay, between you and me, why not? Because how long will you give that extended rope to KL Rahul? Because, he's got talent, but you need to go out there and perform.
But hasn't he been given a lot of rope already?
See, now the beauty is that, in West Indies, he hasn't got runs. I wouldn't be surprised. Come the 2nd of October, the first test match against South Africa, we see Rohit Sharma open. I hope so. Or maybe, Shikhar Dhawan has also been getting runs in some of these practice games against South Africa as well. He's making a case for himself as well.
But I have a case. Just a minute. Once Sehwag started scoring or Gambhir started scoring, and somebody said, let them be a captain also and see what happened to the future. Or Gambhir, by mistake, said, I would like to be a leader. Same, if by mistake, if Rohit Sharma starts scoring also in Test cricket, and somebody says, he may also get a chance to be a captain. And at the moment, Kohli is riding high.
So okay, all right. We'll carry on this debate for another time. It's time for us to, in fact, conclude the show. And I'd like to thank all my guests, Nikhil, Mr. Bedi, Azhar, and Dr. Bimal. Thank you so much for joining us. The first edition of our show kicks off today. And thank you, folks, for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Good night.